call back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for staying tuned to the second hour of the show. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about all the products and services I offer, as well as the Institute of Applied Energetics, where you can jumpstart your intuition today by downloading their free 50-page guide. Haven't you ever wanted to change your career and work in the arts of healing and health? Well, maybe becoming a certified medical intuitive counselor, or certified energy medicine practitioner is right for you. Please check out the training at www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. In this hour, we're going to be speaking with Mary Sutherland about her book, The Red-Haired Giants. Let me tell you a little bit about Mary, and we'll get her on the air. Mary Sutherland is an author and researcher focusing her work on consciousness studies, ancient history, and unusual phenomena. She is a hands-on researcher and the creator of one of the largest websites on the internet, with hundreds of pages providing information on the paranormal, UFOs, ancient race and their cultures, sacred sites, and parapoints of the world, underground tunnels, and cave systems. Boy, there's a lot of stuff. Dimensional world, metaphysics, etc. So please welcome to the show, Mary Sutherland. Hey, Mary, how are you?
How are you, Rita?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. And I want to apologize on air for not having you on sooner, but I saw somebody posted your book, or you posted your book on Facebook, and that was the first I heard about it. And then I was like, wait a minute, you got to get on the show.
Well, you're in Australia, right?
No, I'm in Texas.
Oh, you're in Texas. I thought that you said that you were in Australia.
No. This was one of my guests that was making that comment. They're in Australia.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I mean, do I sound like an Aussie?
No, but, you had me a little bit confused there, because I think that I did I have a radio show, BUFO Radio, and it seemed to be years ago I did a show with you. I interviewed you.
Yes, it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been many, many moons.
Yep. But now we get to talk again, so it's all good.
Yes, it is.
Mary, I just want to jump right in because we have a lot of material to cover. In your book, you talk about 26 cities of, and I'm going to say Akakor. Am I saying that right? Akakor?
Right.
Okay. Where are these cities and who built them? The ancient cities,
Well, Akakor is pretty much based on mythology, but a lot of your facts come from mythology, because at one point in time, history was just passed down, orally, until they were able to start, writing. And then, so now here we are today now we're electronic. So, communication, evolves. But Akakor was, these were cities of the gods. And it seems that at one point in time, going back to Atlantis and Lemuria, the world was ruled by these gods, what they called gods. And I think that it could possibly be, what Zechariah Sitchin speaks of, with the Anunnaki, that there was these star gods that came down from the heavens, and taught man, the sciences of their worlds. And so, but prior to, the great cataclysms that hit the world, they left. And they left information, material, behind, with these keepers of the records, so that if anybody did manage to survive, they could, start building again. And there was a lot of people that did survive. And so this is where, like with the red-haired giants, I wanted to show people that these red-haired giants did exist. They had survived the cataclysms, and basically they pretty much ruled. They were found all over the world, but the book, The Red-Haired Giants, this one here, because this is a book, I should say, this is a series, and there's 5 books in the series. And with The Red-Haired Giants, this book, this is about Atlantis in North America. So pretty much I'm focusing with this book on the giants of North America.
I guess what you're saying, and I was a little bit confused, and so I'm just going to clarify my own little bit of confusion in reading in the book. You don't believe that the giants were the gods, but they were a race on the earth that the gods interacted with.
Well, there, even in Genesis, it speaks of the gods, and then the sons of the gods, and then the sons of the sons of gods. And then, in Greek mythology, you hear about the Titans, the wars of the Titans. And so there, I think what we want to do, the people want to do, is to put everybody in one nice, neat little package, and tag them. And I don't think that we should be doing that. I think that we should be seeing back then, in the past, in ancient times, people like what we have today, And one of the groups of people were the red-haired giants. And
go ahead.
And these were like a hybrid race that had the blood of the gods, and also the gods of Earth, and the blood of the men, or the people of Earth. So they were hybrids.
Well, I mean, I don't try to put anybody into a group, and my personal opinion is that there were multiple groups on the planet, all living and interacting with each other at one point in time. So.
Yeah. And the Adamic man, well, even Noah, in my book, I tell about Noah even being a giant. People evolve, and if you think about it, if you follow the Christian traditions, way back when there was dinosaurs, everything was gigantic. The trees, the plants, the insects, the everything. Why, in God's wisdom, why would He have created a man 5'4" and put him into a world of everything being gigantic? And then saying, okay, you can you have rulership over this land and over the animals at 5'4", when He's looking at, dinosaurs, and the size.
Then let
me
ask you, there are, in my opinion, 2 groups of giants that mythology talks about. There are the giants like the Titans, who were as big as trees and as tall as mountains. And then we have the other group of giants, which were like the Goliath kind of giants that were, 7 to 12 feet. So which group are you talking about? Are you talking about the colossal giants, or are you talking about those 10-footer giants?
Well, we've found here in North America, skeletal remains of giants 15 foot, 20 foot. But most the latter giants were the ones that were, that you hear more of, that were like 10 foot, 11 foot, 12 foot. And in my book on the red-haired giants, I'm pretty much talking about the latter giants that had decreased in size. Not so much that their DNA had changed that or their blood had changed, their bloodlines. It's just that everything started to decrease in size, including the giants.
But that makes sense. If there's just that, that's happening across the planet for environmental reasons or food reasons or whatever the cause was at that time. How long ago do you think the giants inhabited the earth?
I think, well, actually, you have recessive genes, and you're still finding giants right today, modern giants, that are 12, 14 foot. So but they're very rare. But, they're out there. And then, of course, you just have people that are very tall. But, giants are more proportioned. Their stature is more proportioned to their height than just a person that's just tall. But it's a recessive gene. But I think that you're probably looking at, I think everybody feels comfortable saying 2,500 years ago. But I think that we could actually take it back to, back to the cataclysms, going back 10,500 years or even 12,000 years. But right now, most of the authors, they don't like saying that because, they're trying to work among the archaeologists and the anthropologists as well, and so they're very careful about trying to date things past 2,500 or 3,500 years.
All right, I'm just going to tell you this, Mary. It's like my belief is that these gods were here for billions of years. Yeah. And so you can take it back as far as you like because you are not going to get any slack from me at all. And you're bringing up that date, but weren't the Native Americans from Asia or whatever, didn't they come and start populating the New World, 13 to 20,000 years ago? And if that was the case, wouldn't they have interacted with this race of giants on a regular basis?
And that's exactly what they did. And that's what the Red-Haired Giants book is all about, is that when they did come, migrate to North America, they found these red-haired giants already living here. And they did interact and interbred, for some time until, how mankind is, greed took over, and my whole book is about how the newcomers had decided to exterminate all the giants in North America. And we, in my book, I actually, use references. I found old texts and Indian lore and, where, it actually confirms that this is true, that these people did live here. And they were, if you take it back, you can find that these people were actually Atlanteans, and the Atlanteans were giants. But anyhow, when they were attacked and here in North America, they moved, and these people would have been the precursors to the Mayans and to the Aztec. And in my book, I tell about, their migration into Mexico and then also down into Central America and South America, because they tried to be peaceful. They didn't want a war. And so they avoided it as much as they could, so thus they would move and try to start up a new life, a new civilization elsewhere. But do
you think there's any relationship between these giants and the elongated skulls that they have found in South America?
I most certainly do. I think that these are your elongated skulls, is this ancient race of red-haired giants.
Cool.
And we've actually found we have found these, you'll hear people talking about the elongated skulls being found in Peru, in those areas, but we've found elongated skulls right here in Wisconsin. And I have photos of them, and the reports, of these skulls being found here.
Wait a minute, say that again. You have found elongated skulls in Wisconsin?
Yes. I've actually got the pictures as well.
Or do they still exist, or have they just disappeared into someone's memory somewhere?
Well, they migrated. Like I said, they were a lot of people know them as well as the mound builders. And they migrated, to avoid this new migration that came into North America, who were very warlike. They moved. They left Wisconsin. Well, they battled for some time, but after a while, there was just it was they wasn't going to win the battle, and they knew it. So what they did is they just packed up everything and they moved to Mexico, started the Aztec civilization, and then they also were the precursors to the Mayans. So you'll hear the stories of them down there, in Central and South America as well. But I've actually got pictures of these elongated skulls from Wisconsin. One of them is an archaeological dig, and the skull, or the entire skeleton. The picture shows the people that did the dig, and then the picture of this giant skeleton, at the bottom of the grave, at the base of the grave, and with the elongated skull.
I would love to see that picture. So if you have it anywhere, I mean, not right this second, but if you could post it on Facebook and tag me on it, I would love you for that.
I know, but right now I'm still trying to get permission, from the source, so that I can get it up in public, and I'd like to have it in my next book as well.
Okay.
So I can't get that one up, but I do have pictures or skeletal or skulls of giants from Wisconsin, that other people have posted, so I can get those up to you.
Okay.
I just can't use that one until I get permission.
Okay. And that's cool. I mean, I understand that, and totally need to be respectful. Let's talk for a second. You were talking about these gods that were here. So are we talking about the same gods like Enki and Enlil or Zeus or, Indra, that were sky gods that we hear about in mythology? Is that who you're talking about when you talk about these gods that interacted with the red-headed giants?
Right. Well, if you go back to Lemuria, this is where this kind of all starts, is, pre-Atlantis, because Lemuria was in North America, and it was the motherland. And, when it was time for the earth to be populated, they sent two groups out of these teachers, these gods of wisdom. And they sent them east and they sent them west, to develop these civilizations like in India and in Europe. And then, of course, on the west, or be on the east coast, that would have been Atlantis. But anyhow, as they sent these teachers out, they gave them a name, which I thought was, I really liked, because the name that they gave these great teachers coming from Lemuria to reestablish these colonies or civilizations, they called them Mayas. And that's so the word Maya actually takes you back to the days of Lemuria. So pre-Atlantis. And then these Mayas were eventually called Nagas. And of course, Naga is, that's like a reference to the serpent people.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, it's a very complicated, because it's taken me 5 books to write. But what I'm trying to do is I actually talk about, like, during the days of Atlantis, during these days when the red-haired giants were around, these people had flying ships. They called them Vimanas. And they were like, they could take them into outer space. They were like UFOs, what we call UFOs today. And they were able to, go from one place to another in a flash. So it was nothing for them to go from North America to India or wherever. And there's a lot of references to these Vimanas. And so these people were very, very civilized, and high tech, much more so than we are today. But
what I find interesting, and this isn't against to you or anything, but that in all of our investigations, we have not found any machinery. Other than rock structures that could have been some kind of machinery, we haven't found any high tech.
Well, first of all, machinery, like let's say iron, it's going to rust. That's going to deteriorate. You've got the Baghdad battery, that managed to survive. But most of where you're finding evidence of these people are in these, stone structures, the megaliths, the cut stones. And then people are actually finding things like in mining, they're, finding different types of, tools. But it seemed like the rock was what survived. But if you put like a piece of iron out for 10,000 years, I mean, what's going to be left of it? Nothing, But with the Vimanas, they found, these flying machines that they use. You can learn a lot about them in my book, or you could also, I got most of my information through the Mahabharata, the Vedic texts. But, they tell about how to even make them. And who really, while we were all laughing about this, Hitler took it serious, and he sent troops up there into the Himalayas, because they were supposed to have been some of these Vimanas still left, hidden in these caves, along with a lot of texts, to teaching people how to make them, how to fly them, the whole thing. So anyhow, that's where, and Hitler went up there with his people. Well, he sent his people up there and learned about the viral energy, and how to make UFOs. And those UFOs was what the United States called, the pilots were calling them Foo Fighters. And through the viral energy, this was your atomic bombs, So the stuff, the information has always been there, but nobody really ever took time and effort to really go search it out. And you're not saying that Hitler was a good person, of course, and what he did, but he did follow up on it. And
well, I mean, but I think in the West, we are so programmed and brainwashed into thinking that this is what our past was. And there seems to be a concerted effort in not changing that opinion. So talking about Vimanas that were made in some distant time, time in the past, just upsets the timeline.
It does, but notice how much money our governments put into looking for signals from outer space. and how much they put into these secret projects, for time travel and, space travel. If they didn't believe it was possible, they wouldn't be spending all that money. But what I think, Rita, is if you ever notice, as far as grants go or any support goes, it always goes to the scientists that want to study in other countries, but nothing is really but promoting archaeology, study of our ancient past and anthropology and all that. It's not promoted here for the United States. They don't want, they don't put any money into it. They don't allow people to go out there and look for, evidence of, ancient past civilizations. And
Even in our own backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, skip somewhere else, even in our own backyard.
Yeah, and I think the reason for this, Rita, is because there's something here in North America they're looking for. Whether it be the Ark of the Covenant, who knows? It could be more information, on this high technology, from the past. But there's something here that they are scared to death that we're going to find. And like you said, they you could have something in your backyard, and they're not. If you find something in your backyard, you have got to contact an archaeologist, and to do the dig. You can't do it yourself. And if that archaeologist finds something important, he's got to contact another archaeologist, and of a higher department. I mean, it's crazy, And
I wouldn't be contacting anybody, but
yeah, most people don't, because they know what's going to happen. It's going to be taken away from them. My husband's grandparents here in Boscoville, Wisconsin, they had a farm, and they had all these. They found a mound, and they contacted the local archaeologists there, and they came in with a team, roped it all off, put tents up so nobody could see what was going on, and they did their dig. But with the promise that they would tell Brad's grandparents what they found. But when they dug everything up, they loaded everything on the truck, covered it up, and there was never, the grandparents were never told, what they found, And that's pretty much how they do it. So people have gotten to the point where if they find something, they kind of like to dig it up for themselves to see what's there. But the penalty of doing something like that, I mean, you might as well murder somebody than do something like that, because you'll probably get less time for murdering than you would be for, finding these artifacts, and digging them up and keeping them.
But it was an accident. I was putting in a rose garden.
Well, that's what I'd be saying.
But I have to tell you, my late husband often speculated that North America was the land of the giants race, and that at some point in time they were eliminated. And so that when the current group of Native Americans came to this land, there were still some that survived, but the populations that were here were greatly diminished. What's your take on that thought?
I think he's dead on, and that's what this book, The Red-Haired Giants, is all about. That's exactly what they're all about. And, they're like in the down there in Texas. What is that? That river down there where they have the dinosaur tracks?
Oh, Glen Rose.
Is that it? But anyhow, they got the they had those giant footprints walking right next to the dinosaurs. And what did they say? But those were giant prints. They tell people, yeah, okay, they are human prints, but they never give the size of those human prints. But those sizes were of somebody of gigantic structure. And they've been finding a lot of those giant human prints walking next to, showing the prints along with the dinosaur prints in Arizona as well. So, I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, and as well, even the Mahabharata, the Vedic text, refers to North America by the name of Pushkara, Pushakara.
It's Indian. You're good.
Okay, but it's Pushkara. And they refer to Pushkara as the land of the giants, the land of the Nagas. And they talk about how the Rama, the prince of India, would fly here to North America and visit with the king, of the Nagas, and describe them as giants that had magical powers. They were, and called them the serpent race. And it's there. Your husband's right, and I know I'm right. I'll never back down from it. I don't care how intimidating anybody is. I'm going to look them right dead in the eyes and say, no, giants existed. And their land that they called the land of the giants is right here in North America.
Well, and it even seems that when you question many of the indigenous populations, and this is even when the Europeans first came and the Spanish first came, and they questioned the indigenous population about different mounds or whatever structures. And they would comment about, well, they were made by these people before us. And it doesn't seem like there is a recollection anywhere of who built some of the stuff that is all over the United States.
Right. And in the archaeological department, there's no interest in following up on it either, And it's a shame. And I'm sure you're like me. You'll sit there and you'll talk to an archaeologist, and they deny it. They just absolutely, their minds are totally closed to any possibility of giants, And that's not what science is supposed to be. Scientists are supposed to have an open mind and explore possibilities. But the scientists, not the new ones so much, because I've noticed that the new science is starting to open up a lot more to possibilities. But, from the last several, maybe from like the early 1900s up until, 2000, something like that, they have been just so closed-minded and they've just been very detrimental, to the evolution of, of man, because we need to know what our roots are. It's like an orphan child, when they grow up, they're constantly looking for their parents, trying to find out what their parents were like, what type of diseases they may, be prone to, because you need to know that. And, and it gives you a sense of, a sense, I don't know, I don't even know how to explain it, but you need that sense of being, the right to be here. And that's what having roots is all about. It gives you that, it establishes you, and it, so it, like North America, the people in North America, they don't have no roots, You ask people where they're from. Well, my family's from Europe. My family's from Africa. My family's from Spain. Whatever. My family's from Egypt. But nobody in all the other countries, they go back and they say, well, ours goes back, our people have been here for 1,000,000 years or whatever. But see, here it's just like we're walking in quicksand here in North America. And I think that's the reason a lot of us are, having so many problems, mentally even, because we're like lost children, we don't have roots. We need to get that back. We need to have our history back to us and take pride in who we are, Victor, they always say history belongs to the victor, and that's how it always has been, but it's finally gotten to the point, well, that's not funny anymore. We should never change our history, our traditions. That should have always been left alone. But of course it wasn't, and now we've gotten to this psychotic type of personality, globally, because nobody knows who they are, and they listen instead of researching and reading books and and learning on their own. They take the word of all these people that are lying to them. I always get a kick out of people. They'll say, like with UFOs, they'll say, well, why doesn't the government just tell us the truth so we can believe in UFOs if they're really out there? Why doesn't the president tell us, or, why doesn't the government, whatever? And it's just like, are you serious? You'd actually go to a liar to get a truth? If
Well,
the
it
people,
would
if
validate
these
it.
people are lying to you and they're constantly lying to you, why do you think that you're going to be able to go up to them and hear a truth? I've always been that way, though. If somebody lies to me, I don't trust them anymore. But
Hey, Mary.
yeah,
I want to shift gears because we have a question from the chat room.
okay.
And I want to make sure we get a chance to get to it. And this is from Marky. And he says, what about the pyramid in Rock Lake? Do you know anything about a pyramid in Rock Lake?
Yeah, Frank Joseph and I have been out there for the last 5 years. And one time we had a large pontoon, bunch of divers and all that. And this guy that works for DNR actually came out, and he wanted to know what we were doing out there. We were the only ones on the lake. And anyhow, and we told him we were looking for underwater structures. And he says, we have mapped, the DNR had mapped out over 1,100 structures underneath the waters of Rock Lake. And he actually went back to, because we were out there on the lake, and he had one of those little, I don't know, little boat things, ski boats or whatever they're called. Anyhow, he says, I'll show you. And he went back to his car and came back with a map, a DNR map of all the spots that they had marked, of underwater structures. And we asked him if we could have a copy of it, and he just laughed, and he says, no. He says, you can't have a copy, I just wanted to show it to you. And he says, and we would never admit to the public that, we found all these underwater structures. But yeah, it's amazing. We've been out there for like 5 years now. We usually probably go about do some serious diving about 3 times a year. But we actually found, about 5 years ago, we found a pyramid. And it was the most amazing pyramid. There was maybe about, 9 people with us. And Frank Joseph actually wrote an article in Atlantis Rising about it. But we went out there, we found this pyramid, and it looked to me like it was made out of obsidian. It was like glass. There was no algae or anything on it whatsoever. And it had like these golden hieroglyphs, at the tip of it, or at the point of it, what the head, I can't, the capstone, but actually had golden hieroglyphs. And so we marked the spot because we were out of oxygen in our tanks. And so we marked the spot and took some pictures. You know, we didn't go under again, but we took pictures of the area so that we'd be able to come back and look at it. And it's gone. It's, 5 years we've been out there looking for it, and we can't find it. That Rock Lake is the strangest lake you've ever seen. Things disappear and reappear on that lake. It's a real spooky lake. And we know.
I mean, could it be like an interdimensional portal type thing there?
Well, that's what we're thinking, because all the pictures I had, when I looked at my camera, I have the pictures showing us getting on the pontoon, going out to that area. And then all the pictures I took of where the pontoon was, where that was sitting over this pyramid, all those pictures are missing. And then the pictures start up again once we get out of that area and we're going back to shore. Well, it's like, where the heck did the pictures go? And and it's not that big of an area. We had this marked, landmarked, but it's just, we spent hundreds of hours out there on the lake just, back and forth scanning with the best equipment you could possibly think of. The only thing I can possibly think of is the currents down there. Maybe, because there's a lot of muck and silt down there. Mm-hmm. And maybe the current took all that sand and silt and everything off of it just long enough for us to see it. And then when the lake changed over, the current comes back in a different way and covered it all back up with sand and silt. But that still doesn't explain where all the pictures went. It's,
well, and you do ghosty stuff. I mean, that's a pretty normal thing that happens in a high energy, high frequency zone.
Yeah. And there's always been talks of big rocks that'll be there, weighing several tons, that people will dive off of, on Rock Lake. And then one year that rock just disappeared, And they looked and looked and looked for the rock, and it's not there. And there's other different landmarks, that's, on the lake that have just disappeared. So I think that it is an interdimensional portal, that lake is, and they had built a city there at one time, but when these mound builders, or these red-haired giants, we know they were red-haired giants because we have stories about the giants going to battle, back and forth. And there was this one bunch of giants over by Muscadet, Frank's Hill. There's a story about, because they had yellow hair, and they went to Lake Mills to fight with the red-haired giants, in battle. And then they'll talk about the red-haired giants coming to Frank's Hill and fighting the yellow-haired giants, So we know, and then we also have, you remember what I told you about that elongated skull? Mm-hmm. We also have, we've got evidence of them through the skulls, and then we also found a petrified skeleton, near Rock Lake, which was a giant. So, that place is really strange, but I'm sure that that's the reason that they chose to build there too. Their ceremonial, temples and that is because of the fact that there was a dimensional doorway there. So
what do you think happened to the giants? I mean, you started to talk about it briefly, and then we kind of went off on another topic.
Well, there's been, of course, that in Deuteronomy, the Lord gave the orders for Joshua to wipe out every giant, along with their children, their dogs, and their sheep, whatever. Nothing was to remain. Their monuments were to be destroyed. There wasn't supposed to be anything ever left of these giants. And, a lot of people thought that they were just talking about that particular area. But in my book prior to this, in what's called Lost in Time, I tell about this was Joshua went around the world. Him and his people went around the world exterminating these giants, based on, the orders of Jehovah. And
so he was Joshua the giant killer?
Yeah, they were just wiped out, they were exterminated. It was a genocide, and, and some of them, the only thing that we really have left is the ones that are born today with the recessive gene, But
so how much do you think of our gene pool has giant genetics in it?
We have more here in North America than any other country, especially up in the Wisconsin and Michigan area. They were also known for their copper mining. And what we know about this is that there was the great cataclysms that hit and submerged Lemuria and Atlantis around 12,000 years ago. But how long did these civilizations, how long were they around prior to their submersions? I mean, they could have been around hundreds of thousands of years, a million years. We don't know. And right now, there's such a debate of just dating Atlantis, or even a date of a debate whether Atlantis even existed, let alone what type of people were in Atlantis. But if you go into the ancient texts, they all say they were giants, Well,
if you go into the ancient texts, they don't really say that there were humans living anywhere. Humans were created, and usually it's kind of, in my opinion, it's usually kind of at the end of the story that humanity is created. So if humans weren't created till chapter 9, then who's in chapter 1 through 8?
Exactly. And, and they don't go too much into Cain, but, it shows, well, it does in my books, that that the Adamic man was created by the gods. But the line of Cain was more of a hybrid, and that was the line of Cain that started the red-haired race, and they were the builders of the temples and the mounds and all that, and so but we're trying to bring that all back around so that people understand that there was, in Arizona, I used to hear stories of the little people, and the little people went into the mountains because of the giants that came upon the land, So we got little people, we've got giants, we have blue-skinned people, we have birdmen, we have Bigfoot. There's so, and then we have interdimensional people, that, and maybe space visitors. That's what I was getting at when we first began the show about tagging. We can't fall subject to tagging people and putting them into a box, because these races of people that was here, I mean, there were so many, that the red-haired giants is one of many. And we get so caught up in arguing about, who's who and what's what, we forget about what we're even looking for, But I think that right at this point in time, the world is opening. It's like Christ, I'm not really so much a Christian, but I was a Christian, so I remember the readings and that. But Christ said in the end days, all things shall be revealed. And I think that that's what's happening now, is everything is starting to unravel and everything is becoming revealed. And I think that it's just beginning. And I think that it is history. And when we find out what our roots are and the truth, I think that it's just going to be absolutely amazing. And I think that that's when people will start having their freedom. That's when they'll start becoming self-empowered again. Once they know their roots and they know that they're stardust, that they come from the gods, the line, that they have abilities, magic abilities through their mind, using their thoughts, and I think it's, these government leaders, I think it just scares the hell right out of them. Excuse my language, but, and so they try to keep all this stuff from us. But, I have, in Red-Haired Giants, I took almost it was a whole winter. I went through the archives, all the Wisconsin newspaper archives from the early 1800s up until up until now, looking for articles of graves dug up, of these giants. And I have one chapter that is nothing but these newspaper articles of giants that they found in Wisconsin. Just in Wisconsin.
Just Wisconsin. Mary, I'm looking at the clock, and I know the music is going to start here very shortly. If somebody wants to get a copy of the Red-Haired Giants, where would be the best place to send them?
For that book, they can go right to Amazon and just type in the Red-Haired Giants and Mary Sutherland. Or if they want any of my other books, or if they want the Red-Haired Giants and want it signed, they can go to burlingtonnews.net/books. I think. Yeah, books. burlingtonnews.net/books. And they can order it through there, and I can sign the books and send it to them. Or they can just go to Amazon as well.
But in my opinion, getting a signed book is priceless.
Yeah, it is. And I always write, and I don't just put my name on it. I always write something, kind of special for the people.
Well, Mary, the music's rolling, which means we need to go. So thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, it was fun. Thank you, Rita.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And you have a great evening and a blessed weekend.
And I'll see you on Facebook. I follow you.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That is Mary Sutherland. Her book is Red-Haired Giants. Her webpage is burlingtonnews.net. And then next week, very mixed bag, we have Barry Weinhold talking about, are you a 21st century man? And in the second hour, an extra special show on Just Energy Radio, we got, yes we did, Eric Von Daniken, Ancient Alien Evidence. Eric Von Daniken tells all, so don't miss it. Till next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy Radio. Be blessed.
Just Energy Radio. Point your browser to www.justenergyradio.com for more shows.